Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to our Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival 2020 Q&As. Thank you so much for joining us. This year, our full program will be screened online, and we're excited that the screening is going to be extended from tomorrow all the way until September 22nd. So, if you haven't got a chance to catch any of the bundles, all film bundles will be available every day until the 22nd of September. Our new media exhibition at Medulla Art Gallery will now run through to this Saturday, September 19th. So that means that you have a few more days to check that out as well. If you're joining us via Facebook Live, please feel free to post all your questions for our filmmakers in the comments section. We'll address them during our Q&A session. Don't forget, you can check out our full film listing and pay for film bundles at online.ttfilmfestival.com. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our TTFF 20 sponsors and partners. We are given leading sponsorship by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and the Arts. Contributing sponsorship comes from Republic Bank Limited. And Shell Trinidad and Tobago Limited is supporting all of the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival 2020's online industry events. My name is Kafi Kareem, and I am the founder of Storyplay TV, a Trinidad and Tobago company taking Caribbean video entertainment to families worldwide. I am joined today by Alexandre Regol, who is the maker of a film, the English title of which is The Gold of Cajamarca. I'm also here with Patrice Raynal. Patrice Raynal is the maker of the Esmeraldas Beach. And we're also joined by Dani Drumond, who is the maker of a short called, hi Dani, a short called Carne, Casca. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. Congratulations on having your film screened at this year's festival. I enjoyed them thoroughly, and I'm excited to dive into asking you some questions about them. If you don't mind, Alexandre, let's start with you. Am I pronouncing your name right? Do I have it right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So your film, El Oro De Cajamarca, or The Gold of Cajamarca, looks at gold mines in a region of Colombia. And to summarize what happens in the film, the local communities discovered that there were a lot of polluting substances and chemicals that were going to be used in the mining process. They wanted to protect their lands and their community, and they had the democratic right to do so. But there was a lot of pushback from lobbies who wanted the gold mines to go through and who sought to find means to discredit the democratic actions that the local community took. So why was it important for you to shed a spotlight on what's happening there in Colombia?
Well, from my point of view, I'm coming from a northern country, and I was touched those years by the struggles that could be coming from the fights that comes from environmental fights. Basically, the thing is here, most of the big projects have been shut down in the past 50 years. I mean, in northern countries like France or Germany, we have less and less big polluting projects, such as what is threatening currently southern countries. Except that now the tendency is a bit different. It's shifting times right now for these purposes, but for Colombia, the thing is, it is a very specific kind of fighting. It was democratical, and that was what interested me at first. I heard by looking on newspapers that those communities in Tolima and several other regions started to use these rights they had. And it seemed to be a very important thing to notice, to try to understand why it is possible there, and in other countries this kind of democratic votes do not exist. Whereas at the same time, this vote is not really pushing the company completely out of the game. It is not completely forcing the multinationals to stop. They actually, most of the time, stop their exploration things because of the public showing of the things, and that's the thing. But it's not legally stopped. They can still, for example, if they want to continue and start the extraction, they would be in their right. So it's a bit about how do we get the knowledge, how do we fight those projects wherever it is on the planet, because we are on the same ground, and Colombia is a complex country in which territory is a really strong thing. People are dying from fighting for human rights and for environmental rights as well. So that was one of the reasons why I went there, to understand how it was going on.
Yeah, I love that you said it's sort of a case study for the rest of the planet, right? So
Yeah.
that we can see how, what are some of the ways that we can fight for environmental protections and human protections. Thank you. Patrice, your film looks at a region in Ecuador, correct? And you're a French filmmaker. Do I have it right? That's
yes. You hear me? I went to Esmeralda in the north of Ecuador, at the frontier of Colombia.
Right.
And it's an area where you feel like you are in Africa. Most of people are Afro-descendant, and they got their own culture. And I went there because I heard a story of slave people who came in the early year of slavery times, and the first people escaped from a ship, slavery ship, and they create a republic, a small republic. And so I went there to see what how the people are living now.
Yes. So as you said, your film kicks off with the knowledge that there were these people who escaped slave ships and formed their own republic. So we get a real sense of the history of colonial resistance. Some of the themes that you touch are reparations, and there's somebody in there who speaks about the fact that, you know, there's really nothing that could kind of reverse the legacy of historic disenfranchisement except for reparations. You also touch on some very interesting themes, including how do we keep the historical identity of these types of communities. There was a lot of concern about the African culture being lost, and there were efforts to integrate it into textbooks and that sort of stuff. How did you uncover the what it's called? It's called in the film. It's called ethno education. How did you uncover that angle of the story?
I meet some people. Some people find. First, I discovered during a carnival with the dances and the music. But after that, I find some political leaders, but also some people who are working and struggling, fighting for differently, like an old historian, someone who working on history but from the point of view of the community, and that's what is very different, because official history is very different from the Afro-descendant history.
Right, so history from the perspective of the community, which in this case is the community of African descendants, right? Yes.
Right.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for that. Dani, Carne, Casca. So this film looks at a mussels fisherman in Brazil. His name
Yeah.
is Mosquito.
Mosquito,
Right?
yeah.
I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about that name.
Yeah. It's the same in Portuguese.
Yes, yes.
The same meaning.
And it's a very polluted, very polluted waters that he has to fish in, and his livelihood is at risk, right?
Yeah, right. Well, Carne Casca, Meat and Shell is a movie
Mhm.
about Mosquito and his family.
Mhm.
It's in an island inside one of the biggest cities of Brazil, Recife. But it's an island in the middle of the city that almost no one knows about. Its name is Island of God. And I was really interested in like discovering this region in Recife. I didn't know Recife at all. This was my first movie. This was my first experience in Recife at all, actually, too. So it was.
Congrats.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
So I was really interested in how could that people live, like fishing crustaceans like sururu and selling them in so much polluted rivers and so much in strange environmental at all, like uh, all the rivers that are I don't actually know the word, but that are circumding, I don't actually know the word, sorry, the island, they are really, really polluted. Capibaribe, yeah,
Yes,
that is
surrounding the island.
surrounding, yeah, thank you.
Mhm. No problem.
Yeah. And Capibaribe is one of the most polluted rivers in Brazil. And he lives on the river. He lives by the river. He lives like all his family. And actually almost all the families in Island of God lives of what they fish in Capibaribe River.
Right.
This is,
Got it. And so you made sure to show Mosquito's grandchildren in the
yeah.
film a lot, and you know he's telling them stay in school, do good work. Why was it important to you to show that this person is not only just a fisherman but a family man?
Because it's like he knows there is no future in fishing in so much pollution. Like it's not a future for that he actually wants for his grandchildren. He wanted a different future for his children, but he could not provide it. And now he takes care of his grandchildren, and he tries to make them to make them study a lot. And himself, he studies like in the primary studies for trying to have a different situation. And it was really important for me because I was really interested in the relationship between Mosquito that is really closed. He's a tough guy, you know. He's not an open mind guy. I was really interested because I could see a lot of a beautiful way of taking care of his grandchildren, and I was really interested by that family.
I was too. They're a charming family.
Yeah, they are.
Alexandre. So early in your film, there's a statement made about the fact that you know the people of Cajamarca know that they live in a place that's very wealthy in flora and fauna, and wealthy in natural riches, but they don't benefit from it.
Mhm.
The government does. So I know that you explore this throughout your film. Was there anything about that dynamic that touched you the most in terms of what you uncovered about the dynamic of the locals not benefiting as much as the government?
Yeah, that was a touching thing. Like the first person I met was this guy, and the first conversation ever I hear there in Cajamarca, it's this one, and I wanted to keep it to open the film because it says a lot. Like we are surrounded by wealth, nature that we can grow a lot of things, we can live there and be autonomous, but actually the resources are just the property of the state, and they actually they can just decide to let a multinational produce gold there, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
They probably can get kicked out at any moment, so that's it.
So would you describe that population as a vulnerable one?
It is completely, because they do not live in economical conditions that make them powerful people towards their society is basically also in classes. They have a kind of hierarchy in their society, so it's always the same. When you are in a lower level, your voice is not heard the same.
So that's why you wanted to amplify their voices as well.
Also, yeah, and to prove that when you get into collectives and you start to learn from each other, to spread the informations, the scientific facts, you can also grow a population's minds towards the situation they face.
Thank you for that. Patrice. So in your film, we get introduced to an instrument called the marimba, and it's talk to me about that film. I mean, sorry, that part of the film. Talk to me about the instrument and why it was important for you to include it in this film that was about, you know, African cultural retentions and this community.
Yes, marimba is. They say that it's the piano of the jungle in Esmeralda. It's so I made one of the best musician of marimba in his house, and I had the chance that he played for me, and I could keep it for the movie. But it's not a musical movie, but it's a part of the culture, and a strong part of the culture. They use this instrument to play for birth, for wedding, but also for funerals, and so they it speak about the normal life of the people. So they use it, so I keep it in my film to know better the community and the Afro culture of the people.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting inclusion, and it was fun to see that it also made its way into textbooks, even though there was commentary that, you know, this is one of the few maybe local aspects of culture that is in the textbook, and we need more. That was the commentary that was being made, but it was also, you know, at least interesting to see that it has that widespread effect on the community, that this musical instrument has such an important part of or space in the community's heart. That was very interesting to see. Dani.
I think your mic is muted, Kafi.
Thank you, Dani. I'm interested to know, of all the economic hardships that you saw in Mosquito's community, was there anything that emerged in terms of a light of hope for what the community thinks is going to be their future?
It's kind of a, well, the community now, it is somehow a touristic place in Recife nowadays. It used to be a really, really poor place to live, you know, but now there are a lot of NGOs acting in that community, and they are trying to make something different, I do believe. But the most part of the community still lives by fishing in Capibariba River. So I don't really think they have like
they haven't yet diversified. Yeah, they haven't yet found like another vocation that
Yeah.
the community can pursue as a whole, which is
Yeah.
another reason that Mosquito would have been encouraging his grandchild to make sure to get educated, right?
Exactly. This is it.
Got it. So we have 10 more minutes in our session. And before we go, I love to ask all filmmakers this question. When you first get an idea for a film and you have this, you know, you're in the research aspect, that's one aspect of the filmmaking process. Then you go into maybe like some sort of draft or treatment, and then you go out in the field, gather footage, you cut it, and then you present it in front of audiences. Of the entire process of making your documentaries, for you, what's the most gratifying aspect? Alexandre.
I would say, like, when you first meet the people you were hoping to meet, and you obviously meet the right ones, and that's it. That's how it should happen.
Meeting the right people. Got it.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
it always happens.
Yes. Dani?
I would say one of the best like opportunity of my life was to watch the movie in the cinema in a beautiful cinema room with Mosquito and his family. It was like the first experience of most part of his family in a cinema room, you know. So it was really inspiring. I was really touched, like to go with his family to watch a movie about his family and about him. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was.
I can imagine, so they could see themselves on the big screen.
Yeah, he cried a lot. Mosquito cried a lot. It was really, really fantastic. Like one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah, that sounds like a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it was.
Patrice?
You're muted, Patrice.
You unmute, please.
Yeah, I think I prefer the footage. I also like the editing when the movie is getting life.
You love being in the cutting room and bringing all the footage together.
Yes.
Got it.
The artwork.
I'm with you, and that's a great part of the process. Well, thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, we have until the 22nd to check out all the films that are in this year's festival. So you can check out today's Emerald Bundle, which has the films by Dani, Alexandre, and Patrice. We have a lot of interesting topics that we're covering here, ranging from pollution to cultural preservation to you know, political lobbying and protecting communities who are vulnerable, both in terms of economics and in terms of environmental hazards. So definitely check out this superpower, supercharged, change the world, make it a better place bundle. And thank you very much for submitting your films and for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity for being the festival. It was fantastic.